Greetings, everyone. Welcome to MagnifEssence in Motion. My name is David McLeod, and I am your life mastery coach. I'm delighted to be here with you. Today, we're going to have a really interesting conversation. This is episode 21. It's called Music and Soul Expression. Now, music has a way of finding us where words can't quite reach. We've all felt it. The goosebumps from a soaring chorus, the calm that settles in with a gentle melody, the courage that rises when a rhythm locks in with our heartbeat. We don't need to be trained musicians to know that sound is woven into who we are. As humans, we drum on tables, we hum in the car, we sing in the shower, and some of us with actual skill and with great acoustics, of course. But music is not just entertainment. It's a mirror, a compass, a bridge. In this episode, I am thrilled to explore this territory with Bradford Tilden, best-selling author, composer, master sound healer, and CEO of Crystal Music Healing. Together, we're going to dive into some of the ways music helps us dissolve creative blockages, reclaim our authentic voice, and reconnect to something universal that's been humming inside us all along. So please join me in welcoming Bradford Tilden to the program. Come on camera now there, Bradford.
All right. Hey, thank you, David.
Good to have you here. I know,
Oh,
we've been trying to make this happen for quite a while. I'm delighted that you're here all the way from Central Connecticut, I think you said. Is that right?
correct. Yes. Yep.
And so tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, music has always been an important factor of my life, but I know that you've taken it to a whole new level and you've kind of converted it into something that's all about helping people to heal. So tell me a little bit about your journey and how you got to the place where you found music to be so important and something that you wanted to dive into in this way.
So I honestly don't know my life without music. I don't. My mom will tell you I actually was humming when I was born, and I was already attracting an audience. Literally, my first breaths were
Oh,
and
beautiful.
it was amazing. And I don't remember much from my childhood, but I do remember always banging on I would have my mom save the cans, like the coffee cans, the vegetable cans, and I would enjoy the different timbers and things from them. And I begged my parents to give me piano lessons. My grandmother had an acoustic upright, and she would just play, and she would do variations on "You Are My Sunshine," for example. And it was very beautiful, and I was mesmerized. And they waited till I was 8 years old to give me lessons. And then it was recognized that I was a prodigy at that time. And, my whole life was music has always been so central since I can remember. And it's always been healing for me from the get-go. Even that humming, I think I was probably counteracting the vibration of the fluorescent lights in the hospital room, because you can do that. That we're getting ahead of myself, but it's just one of the ways that you can use sound and music to manage and integrate with discordant energies around you. So yeah.
Right. Wow, that's quite a journey. And yeah, but was there any event in your life, any specific event that made you realize this is something that you need to bring to other people?
The sound, it was so God, this is really complicated. I had a lot of trauma in my life. I'm a very, very sensitive person. And I think a lot of musicians are very sensitive. And I think that's why they become very good musicians, is because we're so fine-tuned literally to the frequencies. And I had a trauma with my voice that discouraged me from being in choruses. And then performance anxiety was crippling for the piano. And so I just became more of I would do open mics, and I didn't really believe that I could make a living doing music. Unfortunately, my parents were always like, "Get a real job," and it was awful. And so I abandoned the notion of being a concert pianist, because the stress, the strain, and the competition aspect of it detracted from what I discovered was allowing my own composition specifically to reach and express those complicated emotions that an old soul in a young body has difficult moving with and integrating. And that was really the vehicle for me to express these emotions. So for the longest time, it was a very personal thing and something that I just showed on occasion. And it wasn't until I discovered sound healing and I had an opportunity to perform the piano and do some sound healing in front of some consciously aware people that they gave this feedback to me. So actually, yes, it was a very specific moment. I just remembered, I have a friend whose name is Dr. Lori Moore. She's a famous animal communicator, and she holds these spiritual satsangs. And my friend told me about her, and I called her up, and I drove down to Santa Cruz, brought my keyboard, performed in front of a group of strangers. And by the end of it, I could see all their higher selves, the elves, the angels, all of this. It was crazy. And they started giving me this incredible feedback about the journeys that they had, the beings that they saw around me. And suddenly I realized that even my piano music has a capacity to heal. And that really opened up my eyes, because at that point I was really clueless as to the impact of my music on other people. But after that, things really changed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And you talked about the the early life of a musician, and I can tell you I can relate to that 100%. When I got my first guitar when I was 11 years old, and I started realizing that I was pretty good at this, and I could make it play, and I could make sounds, and my learning accelerated pretty quickly, so that by the time I was 13, I was already playing in different bands and having a great deal of fun with that. And then by the time I was 15, I actually started my own band. And
Nice.
I had these dreams. Paul McCartney was one of my heroes back then, even though he played bass and not guitar. But he was one of my heroes, and I loved Beatles music, and I thought, I'm going to be a rock and roll musician. And of course, I shared this with my parents, and same kind of result. Horror on their faces. Oh my God, you're gonna do that. Maybe you should think about doing it as a hobby and get a real job. Let that be plan Z, all the way at the end of the alphabet. And I remember my stepfather said to me, for every successful musician, there's a million starving musicians. Now, at the time, I didn't really understand the import of his message, but I realized what he was saying was he was trying to instill fear in me about this journey that I was thinking of taking, trying to get me to make the decision myself not to take the journey. And okay, I understand it was really his own fear that he was worried about, not mine. But at the time, I didn't really get that, So I totally understand what you're talking about when your parents say, get a real job, and of course we love our parents. We trust that they're telling us what's right. We trust that they're not lying to us, and so on and so on. So we end up making decisions based on their concerns rather than our own. And one thing I learned from that experience was not to push that same kind of agenda on my own kids. So I have one son now who is an absolutely amazing guitar player, singer, songwriter, really, really highly skilled. And I think, man, I am jealous. I wish I had that kind of skill, But anyway, so I resonate a lot with what you're saying, and the power of music. I don't know if people really understand the depth and the power of sound, and when you bring sounds together into harmonies and choruses and melodies and all these other things, and then the rhythms that go into them, all of these are expressions of amazing humanity that we can't really do any other way.
Mm-hmm. It's really true. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think music is worth, I don't even know, like infinite pictures. There's something. It's such an incredible art form because it's so ephemeral. You like the painting behind me we were talking about. You can sit there and you can study it. But music is really experienced in the moment, and it comes and it goes. Of course, you can listen to it again now, but for the longest time, before real technology, music was so sacred because, think of like in the 1800s or when the symphony orchestra started to come about, like Beethoven, like all these instrumentalists, they come together, they learn, and they perform, and that's it. Yeah. There's no merch table. There's no recording. Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. And I think we're getting back into the awareness of the space where the music is expressed, like the cathedral or the concert hall, those acoustics, which were so integral to the experience of the listener and the performer, that we've kind of reduced ourselves to just playlists on Spotify and earbuds, and where's the vibration, where's the full body experience? Right. And I think that's really why I resonate with sound healing so much, especially vocal sound healing, because it gives the body a taste, a reconnection to the real power of the embodiment of sound and music.
Yeah. You brought up a really good point. I mean, the recording industry has made great inroads, and we're able to get recordings of very, very high quality. And if you have decent, decent sound system, you can almost get the same experience as if you were in the live setting. It's not going to be exactly the same. Obviously, you can't capture all of that, but you can get pretty close, especially with these, 7.2 or 7.3, whatever they are, surround sound kinds of systems. You can approximate it very, very closely. Now, on the other hand, as you say, back in the day with Beethoven and Bach and all those other guys, there were no recordings. You go to the concert, you experience the concert, and you take that memory with you. That's it. You may go to another concert by the same performer or the same group of performers, and it still won't be the same experience, because they're going to be in a slightly different space. The musicians are going to be a different, all of the musicians are going to have their own emotional issues going on and everything. So the quality of their playing is going to change. I mean, it's never the same twice, whereas a recording is always the same. So you got your pros and your cons,
I'm really suffering that myself. I've been trying to produce my second classical piano album for 20 years. And it's that thing. I make a recording of the piece and I think it's great. And I come back and I listen to it and I'm like, no, that's not the one that I want, because my mood is different. My energy is different. I've changed. So how do you decide what's the definitive representation of that piece that other people are going to think is how it's supposed to sound all the time? It's really difficult. Yeah. But anyway,
but on the other hand, when you think about it, you've already mentioned that painting behind you. That painting is a static painting. And what changes is the mood that I'm in when I come to look at that painting. Maybe today I'll see something like that bright thing near the top left center. Or maybe tomorrow I'll come and see, and I'll notice something else on the painting and have a different reaction to it. So the painting itself seems static, but it isn't really. It has a kind of a life of its own that's dependent upon how I show up when I see it. And the same is true about music. And so I don't know about you, but when I go to listen to a music piece, any piece that I'm listening to, I try to just take a breath or two and just say, okay, let it all go, and let's just be present with this piece of music, see what happens. Now, that's not always easy. Sometimes I do have stuff on my mind, and sometimes I just want the music to be in the background so I can do something else. But you get the point I'm trying to make. It has a power that if I open myself up to it, I give it permission to, flow through me in different ways.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about, now sound healing is a little different from music therapy. I know that. But can you tell me a little bit about what you do in terms of sound healing? I believe you've shared with me before using like these crystal bowls and brass bowls and other things that you have. Talk a little bit about what you do and what kind of instruments you use and how you decide what you're going to use.
Well, that's a great question. My sound healing expression or structure really developed and evolved intuitively over time. And I was first my voice, as I already mentioned, day I was born. Let's see what it's all about. And then it just evolved. And in undergrad, when I was a sophomore, I asked what my purpose was. And, I got 2 words. It was very snarky. I learned that once I connected with my guides, I learned that they're very snarky and sarcastic and ironic. And so they said to sing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a pianist. I was in orchestras. I played the cello. I did this stuff. I didn't sing. No. And then anyway, what happened was I started hearing the sound of the crystal bowl in my head as a clairaudient communication. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know they existed. So I was a composition major, and I scored for the wine goblets that you run your finger around.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's all that I knew, and it was
the
a
glass
disaster.
orchestra.
Yes, exactly. The glass harmonica, yeah, whatever it was.
Yep.
And it was. But then fast forward a few years, I find myself in San Francisco, and a friend of mine hands me a flyer for a sound healing school, and I didn't know what to expect. I went. And at the time I was doing music, and I had become a massage therapist. And so I was doing all of that. And then there were 2 distinct worlds. Yes, I played my own music in my sessions, but that was like really it. And then sound healing. Wow. I didn't even know that was an option. So I went to the meeting, and they had a crystal bowl, and the woman played it, and she sang a Mongolian chant with the bowl, but I was mesmerized by the sound of the bowl, because that's what I was hearing. And truthfully, I was already harmonizing with that sound in my head in the shower. I wrote compositions about it, like this angelic invocation, I think I called it. And here was a bowl, and I manifested one, and then I just started singing with it. And that bowl became my teacher. I explored every possibility of resonance, of microtonal adjustments, because that particular bowl that came to me had a blemish in the casting process that caused it to fluctuate in pitch.
Oh, very nice.
So, yeah, now they make ones called the alchemy bowls that are supposed to do that, but this one really did. So, the pitch is very precise, and we think the do, re, mi, those are big gaps. There's big gaps between do and re. There's all these microtones. So this bowl would be going like this, and I would discipline myself to match it, and because you match through the feeling of the resonance of the amplification or the phase cancellation, and these are wave dynamics acoustical phenomenon. That's how I learned, and that's how I developed this sort of resonant sonar, in a sense, that when I'm in a private session with someone, or if I'm in a collective group, I can feel through the feedback of the vibration what I need to express to bring balance. So the crystal bowl the relationship between my voice and the crystal bowl, or if I just have my voice and the client's body, for example, that relationship is where the information resides for me to do the healing work. And that's like kind of like the core of it. And I've expanded into I remember when I used to travel to Portugal, I had that one bowl, and I would do full concerts with one bowl. And I would have these, I called them transmissions, because I'm a composer, and the music always comes from somewhere higher above. When I compose and I craft, and I develop melodies and structures and things, but I just have this channel of vocal expression that comes through. And it starts, and my voice was completely open, and it was an oasis from the perfectionism of the piano, the classical piano, and the right notes. Oh, I gotta hit the right notes. And this was just like the antithesis of that, and it was free expression with the bowl. And I would do like full concerts with the one bowl, and then just different vocal expressions. Now I have several bowls, and I also incorporated the metal bowls primarily, and this is true, spoiler alert, this is to give my voice a rest, so that, and my hands a rest from doing this for an hour. So, I'm just, I'll just bang a bowl, listen to it. It's like, for me, it's like the vocal breaks in long choral concerts. So I create that experience of drawing people in that different way. Because, when the Tibetan bowls are struck, it's mesmerizing to just listen to the sound fade away. And that pulls you deeper in. And then the different bowl, and it's bouncing, it's like just a different, experience. So I saturate with the drone of the crystal bowl in my voice and the manipulations of the frequency relationship. And then I mesmerize people with the Tibetan bowls. And I end with a big gong just to wash energy all over everyone. That's my typical format of my,
How big is your
sound
gong?
healings. Oh, what a personal question. It's a 28-inch Tibetan. I have a 28-inch Tibetan gong.
That's pretty big.
29. Yeah, it is. It's over there. It's gorgeous. It has sacred, the flower of life patterns on it, and the Metatron's cube. It's amazing. It's from Nepal. I have a guy. I have a guy. Yeah. And that's the biggest that my space can house right now, or that I can transport. And my biggest crystal bowl is a big, I call it the grandmother heart bowl. It's a 20-inch F. So
wow.
It's about as wide. Yeah, it's about as wide as this. And it's beautiful. And I can still carry it and bring it up and down.
That's a pretty low frequency then. Nice low frequency. Yeah. You know, I remember, oh God, this happened 20 years ago or more, while I was still married. My wife gifted me with a sound healing session. And I went into this woman had a room kind of similar to yours, I'm sure, with all kinds of, sound devices and everything. The first one that she had that kind of blew my mind was it was actually a bed. It had a mattress on it. And underneath this mattress, she had, I think, 36 or 40 strings, like guitar strings, all tuned to the same frequency. Wow. And so I would lie on the bed, face up, and she would just strum all over the length of that bed. And I'll tell you, after 5 minutes, maybe no less than that, probably 2 minutes, I could hear an entire jazz trio, quad, whatever. I could hear everything. It was just so many overtones, all from one pitch. Well, if that wasn't enough, that one of the other things that she did for me, she had one of these big crystal bowls. And she made me sit in a chair. She put that crystal bowl down between my feet, and she just started using, I think, the rubber mallet or something around the outside of this thing. And before I knew it, I was totally surrounded by the sound of that bowl. I literally felt like I was right inside the bowl. It was just an incredible experience, and I felt so great during both of those. Well, there were many other little things that she did as well, but those two in particular are the ones that I remember. And so I know from personal experience just how powerful, like, single frequency sound can be when it isn't really single frequencies. You get all the overtones and the harmonics that are coming in, and possibly due to the rubbing of the mallet or the strumming of the strings. You're going to get different. But healing, yeah, I felt absolutely fantastic after that session.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I really love that you talk about doing like a concert with one bowl, and I guess you had your piano there as well, and your voice, or was it just the bowl and your voice?
Just the bowl and my voice at a Pilates studio in Cascais, Portugal. Several of them. I've got the videos still on YouTube, actually. Circa.
Oh, well, you'll have to put links in here so people can go watch those.
Oh, no. I didn't prepare links. I'll find one. I should watch them again.
Fantastic. Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah. It's I am a channel. I've some people channel specific consciousnesses. Some people channel God. Some people channel words. Right. I do that a bit, but I channel music and tone. That's what I channel. And I think a lot of the greats do. You read Reflections by Beethoven or Busoni or all of these, great composers, and they talk about the absolute music and the way that they receive it. They receive it from somewhere else, somewhere higher. The music of the spheres, perhaps. And I'm very blessed, and I get emotional when I think about it, because it is such a gift. And I honestly I can't fathom my life without music. I just can't. And the irony is I don't actually listen to much pop music. I don't really listen to much music because it's been reduced to tropes, and a lot of it is just popcorn music and, you know, sensational. It's really, I feel like I don't want to go into
Yeah,
it. I'm
it's
not going to judge
90% crap.
music. Thank you. Or what's the word? Slop. Oh my God. Here's tangent. Took my husband to Algonquin for our 1-year wedding anniversary. We went to this Asian fusion restaurant, and there was some crooning female vocal talking about unrequited love, about the moon and the sun and the rain and the wind and everything. And then another song came on, and it was the same thing. And then in third song, and I was like, I looked at them like, this is an AI generated playlist. This is just AI music. It was horrible because it was all the same crap, just mixed together in a different assemblage. Right. And it was the worst. We were laughing about it because it was so bad. And it's like, no, music is not going to die because of AI. I'm sorry. It's just, you know, that music will live on. True music,
well, I
true
think
expression.
that you've hit onto something really important here. I mean, I you know, when I'm driving in my car, sometimes I'll have a radio station on where they play music, and even if it doesn't matter to me whether it's country and western, whether it's pop or whether it's rap, it doesn't matter. What I notice is they're always singing about the same stuff, and they make these ridiculous things like, for example, all love songs now. I can't live without you. I need you. Blah blah blah. It's all bullshit. Because I mean, really, the truth is, I don't need you. It's great to have you around. I love you and all of that. But the truth is, I really don't need you. Right. If you disappeared tomorrow, yeah, I'd be sad for a while and I'd have to deal with that. But I'd live on. Something else would happen. The stupidity that we put into our songs and try to call it pop music, it just makes me sick. Makes me sick. It really does. Yeah. And I know that, like, for me, a lot of my music now is, I'm really into electronic ambient music. I love that kind of stuff. Something that I can put in the background, just listen to, and it doesn't distract me, and, you know, but it uplifts me in a way. And then the other form of music that I've been creating over the last few years is meditation music that incorporates, you know, brainwave entrainment techniques, you know, binaural beats, monaural beats, isochronic tones, and a variety of other things like that, in order to give the person an actual experience of, you know, what's the word I want to say? Harmonizing your brain waves at a rate that keeps you in focus without putting you to sleep.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun, and you know, it takes quite a bit of work to create pieces of music like that. And I mean, it takes quite a bit of work even to create crap, to be honest, but maybe less work to create crap than to create something that's highly uplifting and has a good positive vibe to it. Anyway, that's just my judgment, I guess.
Yeah, well entitled to it. I have a lot. I don't say much to anyone about anything because I really yeah. But anyway, I think there's a lot of incredible music out there, but that incredible music doesn't get this sort of elevated status as pop music.
Right.
And you know, mine, like, I suffer the problem of translating from the live, that I've been recording my live sound healings, but when it's on a recording, it's not the same.
You don't have the same fidelity. That's right.
We don't. Yeah. And it's a process, because I don't go into the you know, music editing, but, you know, the equalizing. For some reason, certain pitches on the crystal bowls, certain frequencies get really, really loud on microphones, and then you have to equalize them out, and then everything else sounds weird, and it's just,
that's right.
So, you know, I'm still trying to find the sweet spot to translate my live sound journeys to an actual recording. And I think I'll get there. I'll crack the code at some point. But yeah, I love writing classical piano music, channeled piano music, meditation music, popping binaural beats into it, all that stuff, and masking it. Because, you know, like, it's the correct way to create the binaural beats is you get two sine waves that are slightly different. One goes in one ear and one in the other ear. But then when you hear it, you can either make it almost subaudible, because if you really want to get you know, you want to get someone down into, like, you know, the 4 hertz area, so they're not 4 or 5 hertz, so they're not asleep, but they're still very relaxed, and you got to figure out how to do that so that the sound of the actual frequencies doesn't become grating on the listener. So, you know, you got to weave it in there.
I did a lot of research into this whole thing about binaural beats and how to create them and so forth. And you're right. It's nothing more than two different frequencies, one going into one ear and one going into the other ear. And you have a spread between them, between those frequencies,
Yes.
but it's a
Correct.
narrow spread.
Yes.
And
It's
what
only,
I
yeah.
was aiming for all of my music, I thought, why not use the Schumann resonance frequency? 7.83 hertz. So that's the delta that I use in mine. And the way I made it work was I built my own little synthesizer to generate these tones for me. And I also built the synthesizer so that I could play keys. So I play, let's say I play, I don't know, middle C, for example. Well, the synthesizer then would take that middle C and add half of 7.83 hertz to one side and subtract half of 7.83 hertz from the other side. So you would hear in your mind, hear in your ear, you would hear a C, but it'd still be beating because of the binaural delta.
Ooh, that's very clever.
Yeah,
that's very sexy.
I'll give you my synthesizer if you want it. You can use it.
That's very sexy.
Yeah. Well, the only problem is the quality of the sound on the synthesizer is not that great. But I think you could do this with any synthesizer.
Yeah.
All you need to do is have you'd have two instances of the same synthesizer on your computer.
Right.
And one of them you would tune everything down slightly by whatever delta you're after, and tune everything else up slightly. So that way, when you hit the keys, and then you have them in a instrument rack, so that when you play one key, both of them sound at the same time.
Sure.
That's how you could do it. That would be easy.
Yeah. That's cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't want to get too technical here.
No, I was just thinking. I'm like, I wonder how many people know what we're talking about.
Well, it's fun to be able to have this conversation with someone else who knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, music geeking.
So let's just talk about the value of something like binaural beats or isochronic tones and how they benefit, the mind and the brain and the vibration and the heart, everything.
First off, and this is, I think, what the most important message that keeps coming to me in really all areas of life is it's an answer to the overstimulation of our modern world. And we bombard ourselves with instant gratification, with caffeination, with all of this stuff, with sensationalism. And we're always going and we're creating our hamster wheels, and we love our hamster wheels. And, we can't live without our hamster wheels. And then the body and the nervous system gets so out of whack. It doesn't know, it forgets how to relax and restore. And so the binaural beats are a very physiological implementation I'm going to use this word deliberately, to force the brain or to force the nervous system through entrainment back into a normal, calm, receptive, tranquil, meditative healing space, which is very, very rare to find out in the world. Sound baths are really popular now because people realize the value of monthly, at the very minimum, go and just unplug and veg, like your experience on that table, right? It's so amazing for people to be reminded of this space of relaxation and receptivity, or calmness of mind and clarity, because we are just instantly pulled out of it from the moment our alarm goes off in the morning to the moment we try to shut our mind off at night. And so these are tools. These are tools that allow us to find that balance, that we can we thrive in this overstimulated environment. That's like really, I think, the most important thing.
Well,
and then we can get
really
more specific.
I like that description a lot. It's certainly much more relatable, I think, than the way I've tried to explain it to people in the past. But I like that a lot. The idea that, you want to maybe shut out some of the bombardment of all of the cacophony of sounds that have been, imposed upon you from all different aspects of your life. Here's a way to do it. I like that. That's really nice. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I was just thinking as you were talking, Imagine if you had two crystal bowls, one tuned, 4 hertz above and the other tuned 4 hertz below. Now you put the one on each side, you've got yourself your binaural beats right there.
Well, I mean, people, I don't think that that's authentic, because both ears are still getting each frequency. And what you're going
That's
to
true.
experience, is phase cancellation.
That's true.
This woman, she had their bowl. She's like, look at the binaural beats. Wah, 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 wah. And I was just like, girl, that's not binaural beat. That is phase cancellation. And phase cancellation, you could do very easily with one crystal bowl in your voice, right? Where you have, it's just a phenomena. It's a really awesome acoustic phenomena that has so many different applications, therapeutic applications as well. But what happened, I don't want to get too technical, but it just happens where when a sound wave is like a sideways S, right? And the inverse of that is the opposite. So if there's a perfect S sine wave and a perfect inversion, you get silence. It cancels it out. But if you get a slightly longer waveform, and over time they'll begin to phase out, and there'll be parts of it that are amplified and parts of it that are canceled, and it will oscillate through generating sound and silence and sound and silence. And if it's a big enough difference, you can hear it as the wah 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 wah. That's not a binaural beat. It's just not.
Got it.
And,
no, you're absolutely
Mythbusters.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain this for people who might be watching this. It sounds cool, but it's not binaural beat. Binaural means two different beats, and they have to. It's a stereo experience, but each input is different, and then the brain is what makes the adjustment with the illusion of the remainder of that smaller frequency differential. So if you get the sound coming in both ears, your brain will just hear both sounds. Right.
Yeah. So let's talk.
But it's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is very, very important stuff, I think, and I want to talk about you've talked already a little bit about using your own voice, and I know that many people may have severe judgments about their voices. And what do you suggest for people, how they can maybe learn to use their own voice for the purpose of healing either by learning how to sing or making sound out of their voice and not caring what it sounds like, other than maybe having an intention behind it?
Well, they can reach out to me for a healing voice alchemy session, because this is exactly what I do. But what you can do, think about, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure most people at least hum or whistle in safe spaces, like in their shower or in the car, or singing along with their favorite song, right? Most people utilize their voice for some sort of expression when they're in a state or an environment where they're free of feeling judged. And that also goes for self-judgment. I think that's the before you even get involved with thinking what other people might think about your voice, the self-consciousness, there's the primary self-consciousness of the self-judgment, which comes from consistent childhood instances of being told to be quiet, or being told to shut up, or to not cry, or whatever, having your opinion be disregarded. All of that stuff, it chips away, and we develop these complexes, that I don't like the sound of my own voice. I think that's one of the saddest things for people I could hear. So if you really want some immersion therapy, record with a vocal recorder, talk into it and listen to it, and just keep doing that until you get comfortable with it. But I tell people in my, it's one real thing is, if you like to hum or you like to whistle, and so if you're doing so, you're just out like minding your own business, walking on the sidewalk, and someone's coming in the opposite direction, try to not stop. Try to continue to whistle or hum, and as that person passes you, and I don't know, it's just, I'm trying to convey something that the energy is not quite right now, but you have to just, it's about self-acceptance. And I believe that the voice the voice has a lot of information in it. I mean, we could go on this rabbit hole of this device that you can record, you can talk into, and it analyzes the spectrum of the frequencies in your voice, and it can actually be used to diagnose preconditions and serious illnesses from lack of frequencies in your voice. So the voice itself is actually a blueprint, and it's a blueprint of where you are in your overall energetic, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And there's the tones within your voice can be analyzed, and you can discover how to maintain health through adding the frequencies that you lack. But that's like a next step. If you just have a poor relationship with your voice, just start to find a quiet space and just make sound, like explore it. You know, like no one's going to be, you find a safe space where you're alone so that no one else is around. But then, you know, I also, some exercises, like I ask people if they scream. I have some clients that are incapable of screaming. I have a client who is she's in a chorus. She sings in a choir. In a private session with her, with a crystal ball, I asked her to make a sound. She couldn't. And she burst into tears because it was a different situation. She was focusing on herself, and being with that choir, she's lost in the group, right? It's not an inward thing. So finding and beginning to heal a damaged relationship with one's own voice is probably one of the most sacred and important acts, because it's healing the relationship with yourself and your soul. And that takes a tremendous amount of courage. Even though we have the voice, we can just make a sound, but we need guidance, or, you know, we just need to follow our intuition. And it's just, there's so much blockage that occurs in the throat chakra and in the physical throat, that it can be very complicated and overwhelming, and people don't understand why they can't make sound or why they don't like their voice. And it's a whole lot of stuff. And so you just have to untangle it. Like there's a big ball of rubber bands that you need to just kind of figure out which ones to, like, you know, pull out first so it all unravels.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I know that you have connected with Sarah Jane, who somebody I've known for many, many years, and she does a similar kind of work as you. She does voice toning, and she calls it vocal Reiki, which is a pretty cool name, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating, this idea of the voice and toning and having a proper relationship with your natural voice and finding ways to release it. You know, I used to love singing. I was a singer-songwriter for a while. I loved doing that. And I particularly love harmonizing with other people. Standing up and doing solo performances, I've found was challenging. But one thing I learned partway through my own personal growth work was 90% of the time, or maybe even more, 95, 96, 97% of the time, people who are listening to you aren't really judging. They're just listening. You know, most of them, maybe they don't like the song that you're singing. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the point is, most of them are not judging you for being a bad singer. You know, they're probably saying, man, I wish I could get up there and do that too. So more often than not, the judgments that we have to deal with are our own. They have nothing to do with anybody else. Most people are too busy with their lives to think about me.
You know, that's beautiful, and I wish my brain could think like that, because, you know, I'm this hypercritical composer brain. If someone sings out of tune, if someone, you know, if a professional pianist plays a wrong note in a Beethoven sonata, I'll know, and I'll judge them. I'll be like, ah. But, you know, like, but really, that's just a speck on the windshield. Like, what about the whole beauty of the whole performance, the deliverance, the person's confidence, right? That's
right.
really the value. That's the bigger thing, right? And
That's right.
The minutia, because I really, I said I had this problem with perfectionism, and I think when anyone emancipates their perfectionism and they go up and they sing, it doesn't really matter. Like I never judge the sound of someone's voice. If they're doing a cover song and they're not hitting the right notes, I'll judge that. You know,
Yeah, right.
if they're toned up, I'll judge that. But if they're just crooning and just being themselves, I love the vibe of the joy of expression. You
Right.
know,
Well,
like
or how about if they do an original song that you've never heard before? Now you don't have the comparative background to be able to say, "Oh, you missed a note there."
right,
You don't
right,
know if he missed a note
yeah,
or not. Maybe he did, but you don't
true,
know.
true,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I say the same thing to people. I did Toastmasters for several years, and I had people who would say, I'm terrified of public speaking. And I'd say, no, you're not. You are not the slightest bit afraid of public speaking. You're talking to me right now, aren't you? And we're in public, aren't we? Well, yeah, but
that's a
it's
very
not the
good
same
point.
thing. Well, how is it different? The only difference is you get up on stage and you share something rather than standing on a floor in front of me and share something. That's the only difference. Here's what you're really afraid of. You're really afraid of other people's judgments. That's what you're afraid of. You're not afraid to say what you have to say. You're afraid what they're going to think. You're afraid what they're going to judge. And I said, now, if you really boil it down, most of the people in the audience are just like you. They would love to be up on stage speaking. So it's exactly the same thing. What you're really afraid of is your own judgment. That's what it boils down to. And if you can learn to just simply acknowledge that and say, I am judging myself. How can I release this judgment and allow myself to just simply speak my truth or sing my truth?
Or even just sing or express a tone, like
Yeah,
reducing it to this. Like I chose not to typically I don't use words and when I'm channeling. Like sometimes, very rarely a word will come out. But the vocal, the reduction of like the syllable, right? The vowel consonant, like Hinduism, like Sanskrit has this down to a T. But just like, but having not judging, like people judge their own emotions. They judge their emotional expression and they suppress it, and then disease occurs.
that's right. That's
Give
right.
so not this is all of this self judgment, self limitation. Like this is really, I think, where a lot of disease could be harbored, is because we're not allowing it out to be expressed, and the voice or even the mind, the through the process, like the completion, the emotion occurs, then it has to be released. The idea is received, it has to be released. And this disruption of communication, of energy, is a real interesting place where I focus on helping people. And it sounds like you do the same thing. You like mindset, creating different ideas and thoughts, and sort of the mindsets really
Right.
helps to free people of this censorship or this disruption of the completion of the energetic transmissions. So yeah, it's really
Right.
exciting stuff.
Well, talking about singing, I used to love singing. Like I said, I don't really do it much anymore because I've got now COPD, which is getting worse by the year, and breathing is a challenge. So, you have to have pretty good breath control to be able to sing on a regular basis. So the best I can do nowadays is I just sit, and when I'm meditating, I'll do a nice long, I'll take a deep breath and just let out a long om. Just let that vibration fill my body, and it feels so good doing that.
Mhm.
And it wavers a little bit here and there. I can hear the pitch shifting, going up and down, but I don't care because I'm doing it for myself. I'm just opening up my heart and my lungs, and I'm saying, let that sound just come out. And I try to find the lowest register that I can get that doesn't feel too uncomfortable. It's almost at the absolute bottom of my voice. I can't, I wouldn't go quite that low, but that's what I try to do. And I'll do this 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times and just take a deep breath, om out, and try to take that breath as long as I possibly can, and then do another one. Do the same thing. So in a way, it's a kind of a breathing exercise, and simultaneously a beautiful sound bath that I give myself using my own voice. Anybody can do that. That's easy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you defined really my practice of toning that I do myself and that I teach people. You inhale and then you exhale and make sound.
Look
Inhale
at
and
that. There
exhale
you
and make
go.
sound over a duration of time with different, with different parameters. Your parameter is as low as the register as you can go in comfort, and the vowel or the seed syllable Om. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And doing the same thing over and over again unlocks a different uh, journey of awareness than if you were to do a different sound with each breath,
Right.
right? And so this is where there's this infinite possibility. And it honestly takes a lot for a normal person to be able to get to the point to even do what you just described yourself as doing.
Mm.
There's a lot of resistance that comes up because people just have that self-consciousness about themselves. They're not giving themselves permission. And
Right.
when you do it for yourself, or when I do it on stage, it's giving people permission to do it. Like a lot of my work is through leadership, through embodiment. Like being able to not care what other people think when I'm expressing my sound on the platform gives other people permission to express the sound in their platform, in their private life. It's giving consent. It's
Right.
allowing people, yes, you can do this. This is something that you can do, and it's very powerful. And yeah, and I would love to see a world where everyone is just so freely intoning and then harmonizing, and just a spontaneous toning choir. Like just walking down the street or in the park. That would be fun.
Yeah. The flash mob of
Yes,
harmonizers.
yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You mentioned the word inspiration. I find that word fascinating because it really means drawing in spirit or breathing, right? Inspire, bring the spirit in. And that's really what I think I'd like to see people doing more often. Inspire yourself, you know? You mentioned something in your write-up about this song. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'd like to
Mhm.
hear more about that and understand what that is and how it can be used to help us, grow and expand and heal ourselves even more.
Sure. So this is something that when I did a special topics on music healing in grad school, in this concept, I was first introduced to it. And a lot of ethnomusicologists have studied lullabies and childhood nursery rhymes across all of the world's cultures. And it's always this very simple interval of a minor, descending minor third. Mm-hmm. And that something about that, and my head's tingling. My senses are tingling when I did that. It's this primal, archaic, just gesture of the intoning of some sort of emotional communication through the voice and through sound. And like la la. Mothers, mothers inherently hum to their child when the child is given to them, and they'll hum the song. It's simple, it's primal, it's profound, it's fundamental, and it's enrooted in our subconscious, in our cellular awareness. And there's some a response of comfort, of safety, and of community within
Mm.
this simple, and that's really like the core of everything.
Right.
And in all music, Shankarian analysis, it progresses back to that. Like it just creates movement, creates resolution, creates a fundamental completion, and it can be found in every culture. I mean, and then there's esoteric and metaphysical, concepts of the Big Bang, which is a sound. In the beginning was the word, which is the sound. And that sound really, the vibration, the movement, is the instance of creation. Like before anything existed, there was no sound. And so the Earth song can also be conceived of as the first song or the birthing of consciousness. And that consciousness really doesn't have an objective unless there's some sort of communication through vibration, which is sound or thought. And so there's all sorts of other things that you can, just philosophize about that the song would be relevant to. It's just I like meditating on the concept, of just like the fundamental sound, right? That's really
Right.
what it goes to. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think as you were speaking, I'm thinking of Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti, who famously said, and I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but he said something like, everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound. And when I first heard that, and I don't know if you've heard him speak or any of his presentations. The guy, apparently he died in early 1900s, I think, but a very, very wise man from India. And yeah, I really like his writings. But anyway, he's got a voice that is so easy to listen to. And when I heard that quote, everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound, I thought, that is a profound truth. It just felt like that to me. One musician that you may have heard of who does a lot of cymatic stuff, I think his name is John Stanford or something like that. I'm not sure if I've got the name right. Nigel Stanford, maybe. And he did a video on cymatics, which just went viral on YouTube. And Jiddu Krishnamurti's quote was included in that, or on his album. I'm not sure about on the video, but it's there. And that's when I remember hearing it, and I think, oh, that's so true,
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, everything, without vibration, nothing can exist. And so, the deepest, lowest frequency, I don't know what the lowest frequency is. I mean, even if I pick a frequency, there's probably something lower than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with the highest frequency. What's the highest frequency? Well, I mean, we know that our ears are only very, very finely limited to 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, whereas and our eyes are limited to 300 megahertz, I think, to 900 megahertz or something like that. Maybe it's gigahertz, but anyway, frequencies, vibrations are what give everything life. So I totally resonate with your idea of some kind of a primal sound. I've heard people refer to Om as the primal sound. And now that's different. But this idea of a minor third, it explains to me why I love minor keys so much in music. Major keys are nice in certain circumstances, but generally speaking, I favor the minor keys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's interesting. Of course, the inversion of minor third is a major sixth.
Yeah, of course.
which is all about transcending the dimension to a higher one, but we won't get into that.
Right. I mean, it's all beautiful, and yes, all these intervals, and every interval can be inverted, of course. You're right. It's fascinating. The whole concept of music is just mind blowing. I mean, I haven't had the classical education on music, but I've learned a lot in my own life, right? And so I understand these notions of intervals and how important they are, and how two sounds played together give you harmony, even if it's not a pleasant sound.
Yeah.
If you have a minor second, then it doesn't sound very good, but you could play it as a ninth, and then it sounds fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, there's a lot of I always see things as how the frequencies and the harmonics and they interact, and the potential for healing. I think that a minor second is one of the most my favorite. It's such a disrupting
Right.
interval because it's so dissonant, and everything that happens is about like flexion and release, like tension and release, tension and release. Even the heart, it pumps, right? It's like that's the life, right? And it's this contrast of like holding and releasing and holding and releasing. And the minor second is the epitome of the like tension in the musical language. And then it has to, once it resolves, it's like ah. But the it has so much more meaning when it's contextualized with the
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So, and it's without the you won't have that release, and so anyway, I just find it very exciting.
Yeah, well, this whole topic is very exciting. Obviously, for the two of us, I don't know how our listeners are going to appeal to this, but I wanted to ask you. Now we're getting close to. Well, it's actually been an hour already. Hard to believe, but I
Yeah.
wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about practical applications for people, how they can maybe use some of this in their daily life and use it for their own personal healing. I mean, we've already touched on some of these, but maybe be more specific right now.
I think conscious music selection is a big thing. If you feel overwhelmed and you want to relax, find some music that has a tempo that's slower than 60 beats per second, because that way your body will naturally calm down.
60
With
beats
the
per
music.
second would be pretty fast.
Sorry, beats per minute. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Sorry.
I don't know if I can play that fast.
No. 60 beats per minute. Like that's the
Yeah.
standing normal heart rate. So if you listen to music that has a tempo slower than that, you'll not naturally calm down. It can help you sleep, for
Right.
example. We talked a lot about vocal toning, and our bodies and energy fields. We accumulate. Well, just like the dust, the table, the surfaces in your house accumulate dust. We accumulate energetic dust. And a lot of that can be other people's emotions or even your own stuff that's stuck in your field, and so when you vibrate your body with your voice, it clears all of that stuff out. You're flushing your system. You're taking like an energetic shower. And it's important to do that. And we all have the capacity because we have the voice. I tell people it's the most powerful, it's the most reliable, it's the most accessible, and it's the most affordable healing tool on the planet is your own voice. And if you want to learn more specific techniques as to how to optimize that and use your voice to manage your life better, just contact me. But for now, all you need to do is inhale and let out a sigh. An audible sigh. Nourish and relish the sensations of that and deepen it on the next one. I tell people, I guarantee you're breathing. So
Yeah, right.
I can guarantee you that you're breathing. So once you inhale, why don't you make sound on the exhale? And don't judge it. Just make a sound and start there. And then have curiosity and explore the sensations.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
that's really, yeah,
And now, as long as we're on this topic, I know that there are people who have damaged vocal cords or may not even be able to speak at all. What do you recommend for people like that who may have those kinds of challenges?
I would say to do the best that they can, or maybe they could also think a sound. Like I'm going to inhale and I'm thinking a sound. You're not hearing it, but I'm thinking a sound because the thoughts and the thought waves can actually, on some level, help. But I would also invite them to access some sort of recording or some sound that can help them relax, like a toning track or something. It's really hard. Honestly, I haven't been asked that question before, and I haven't had any
Good. I'm glad
clients.
I was the first.
I know. I've thought about it, but I haven't needed to respond. I'm like, well, what would happen? People with those voice boxes, they do create some sort of vibration there.
Right.
But I would say just to do the breathing and
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
just to really do the breathing and just think about producing a sound or a standing pitch or something like that.
Well, even if all you do is breathe, I mean, if you inhale and exhale, you are creating a sound.
Yeah.
It maybe not using your voice box.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call that like structured and unstructured sound because you're not engaging your vocal cords.
Right.
Or you can restrict the air passage. You inhale and then only breathe with your like pursing your lips, right?
Right.
And what that does is it allows you the opportunity to experience your lungs and your diaphragm, contracting slower than if you were just like it comes out so fast. there's not a lot of chance to explore it or get familiar with your internal environment, because breathing and toning really increases body awareness as well. Like when you're aware and you're able to focus on it, and it drops you from your mind into your body, which allows you to be more present in the moment, and stress actually just dissipates, because the mind is really what creates all the stress, and then the body holds the stress. And when you drop into the body and you tone or you breathe, that gives the body the chance for the stress to just slough off. So
beautiful. We have gone way over time. I'm sorry for those who are watching, but this has been such a fascinating conversation and right up my alley, because I'm a musician too, and I just love this conversation. So thank you so much for being here today, Bradford. It's just been a pleasure. Do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with people before I close us out?
My favorite expression is to resonate joy, and resonate, use your voice, just vibrate, vibrate, vibrate. That's it.
Beautiful. Resonate joy. Great wisdom, great reminder for people. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching the recording. And just a reminder, you can see all of my recordings on my website at MagnifEssence.com. And as I close out today, I'd like to do what I always do, and I'll give you my 3-sentence mantra, all that you can learn and recite and use for yourself. It's a powerful mantra to help you just really be grateful for all of who you are. It goes like this, real simple. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So thank you again for being here today. I want to wish you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. And I'll see you again next time on MagnifEssence in Motion. Bye-bye for now.